Goblin launch detected.
This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. If you're looking for cards in the US, look no further, as you can use the promo code MTGMUDSTA to get you 5% off anything on the site. Or if you're in Canada like me, you can use the same promo code at Multizone to get 10% off your orders of singles. If cards aren't what you're looking for, Original Magic Art has playmats, tokens, and sweet art that you can use that same promo code to help you get 5% off your order there. If you're looking to bling out your cards, using Alter Sleeves is a great way to do so, and you can click the affiliate link in my About section to help out the channel as you make an order. And if you just want to help out the channel, you can always consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month and join the generic Goblin Gang. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game finds us back at Red Dragon in Ottawa, and I'm playing Ramos. I keep Supply and Demand, Glacial Fortress, Seasons Past, Sea Dasher Octopus, Dragon Skull Summit, Plains, and Sulphur Falls. Kilby is playing his Brago deck, keeping a Sky Scanner, Condemn, Terramorphic Expanse, Plains, Stoic Farmer, Island, and Inevitable Betrayal. Scott has decided to play his Rograkh and Keleth deck again, keeping a Plains, Vandal Blast, Deflecting Swat, Grateful Apparition, Chaos Warp, Showdown of the Skalds, and a Pillar Verge Pathway. Nathan is also back, playing his Yusri deck this time, keeping a Frenetic Ifrit, Cyclonic Rift, Gamble, Lightning Greaves, Soul Ring, Mountain, and Spire Bluff Canal. Kilby wins the die roll and starts us off. Kilby plays and cracks his Evolving Wilds, going to find a tap basic. I play tap Sulphur Falls, passing to Nathan. Nathan drops a Spire Bluff Canal, which comes in untapped because he has fewer lands, and taps it for a Soul Ring. He taps the ring for the Lightning Greaves then, and passes to Scott. Scott casts Rograkh before even playing a land because he's a man of culture, and he then plays a Plains. He taps out for 1 for Shadow Spear, and passes to Kilby. Kilby plays an island, passing. I play a Plains, and pass as well. Nathan's turn has him playing a mountain, and he's able to cast his commander, Yusri, 1 full turn ahead of the curve. He then equips him with the Lightning Greaves and moves to combat. He swings his commander at me and decides to go for broke, as any Yusri player should, and decides to flip the full 5. We don't have any coins at this point, so he decides to roll 5 dice, calling for high rolls. This has Nathan drawing 5 cards, and is able to play stuff as if he has Omniscience for the rest of his turn. I then take the 2, and in a second main phase, he plays a Proteus Staff and then a Thought Vessel. Next up is the Frenetic Ifrit, and he follows that up with a Brainstorm. He draws 3 and then puts 2 cards back. Once he's done that, he gambles and goes to find a card. Nathan then has to randomly discard, and he lets Scott pick, pitching a Possibility Storm, which the table is pretty fine with him getting rid of. That is, until Nathan follows up with a Blightsteel Colossus. He then shifts the Greaves over onto that, and passes from his second turn. Scott plays the Needle Verge Pathway side of his pathway, and remembers to draw for turn. He taps 1 red, and casts Vandal Blast to blow up the Lightning Greaves. He then passes to Kilby. Kilby plays another Plains for turn, and passes, telling Nathan it's in his best interest to not attack him. I draw, and play a Glacial Fortress. Nathan draws, and plays Reliquary Tower for turn. He moves to combat. He swings both the Colossus and Yusri at Scott for blowing up his Greaves, and goes for another 5 flips with Yusri. This time around, Nathan fails 4 of them, taking 8 and drawing only 1 card. Scott blocks with Rograkh, but sadly the little kobold couldn't, and Scott gets taken out from poison damage. Moving to his second main phase, Nathan then casts an Izzet Signet, and passes to Kilby. Kilby plays out a command tower, and suspends Inevitable Betrayal. He passes to me, and at the end of turn, I want to feel like I'm doing something, so I flash out a Sea Dasher Octopus. I draw for turn, and play a Clifftop Retreat. I then go at Nathan, who responds before damage, and he puts to stack a Lightning Storm, targeting my Octopus. He asks if anyone wants to pitch any lands to change the target and add to the damage, but no one takes him up on it, and the octopus just dies. In my second main phase, I then played a Porcuparrot and pass. Nathan plays out an island for turn and taps 3. He then puts to stack a Stitch in Time, and the shop owner has lent us a coin at this point, which he's able to flip. He calls it correctly, getting an extra turn after this one, and he notices Kilby's single open mana, and decides not to go at him, instead using Cyclonic Rift to bounce my Porcuparrot back to hand. He then swings the Colossus at me and the Flyers at Kilby. Kilby decides he can't win this game alone, and uses Condemn on the Blightsteel to try and save me. Nathan lets this happen, and the Blightsteel goes to the bottom of his library, and he gains 11 life. Nathan then flips for Yusri, drawing 3 but losing 4 life. The Flyers then connect, and Kilby takes 4, 2 of which is commander damage. With nothing else, Nathan passes. Nathan's extra turn has him playing an island, and he goes at Kilby once more. This time he draws 3 but loses 4 life from Yusri, and Kilby takes another 4. Nathan then moves to his second main phase, tapping the Soul Ring to cast another Mana Rock. He then drops a Tribute Mage, and goes to find a 2-drop artifact, revealing Krark's Thumb, which he casts once it's in his hand. He then passes to Kilby. Kilby downticks his suspended spell and draws for turn. He plays an island, and then brings out Brago, leaving that 1 critical white mana open. My turn has me playing a Temple of Silence, which lets me scry 1. I keep it on top, and recast my Porcuparrot, and pass. Nathan counts up his mana, and then plays out an Access Tunnel as his land for turn. He goes at me this time with his creatures, and with the thumb out, gets an extra roll for each of Yusri's flips. He manages once more between the extras to hit them all, drawing 5, and then cast spells without paying their cost until the end of turn. I then take 4, and wonder whether that's more painful than him being able to cast spells for free. In his second main phase, he casts Ulamog, and with the on-cast trigger, blows up my Porcuparrot. Once Eldrazi's out, Nathan then uses Haphazard Bombardment, and as it comes in, puts a counter on all of my lands except for the Temple of Silence. He then plays a Mogg Assassin, and then casts Ponder. He shuffles up and draws after seeing his top 3, and he then casts a Sensei's Divining Top, passing. At the end of turn, he rolls for the Bombardment trigger, and my Sulphur Falls gets destroyed. Kilby downticks his suspended spell, and plays a tapped Razor Tide Bridge. He then taps 3, putting Reality Acid onto Ulamog, and goes to combat. He swings Brago at Nathan, who connects and deals 2. Kilby then has a Brago trigger, and he blinks Reality Acid and Brago from the on-hit, and Ulamog is sacrificed, and this has Nathan shuffling his graveyard into his library, while Kilby moves the Aura over onto the Proteus staff. Kilby then passes turn. I draw, and play a Stomping Ground, taking 2 so it comes in untapped. I then ramp a bit more with Farseek, putting out a Breeding Pool. I then play out the Demand half of Supply and Demand to go and find a multicolored card, passing. At the end of turn, Nathan uses Chaos Warp and targets Brago. Kilby puts his commander back to the command zone and shuffles up, revealing Pacifism off the top. He has it come in on Yusri, and we then move to Nathan's turn. Nathan plays a Mountain for turn, and taps 4 for Reality Scramble, targeting his commander. He has Yusri go to the command zone, and reveals until he hits something that shares a type, so a creature. And he goes until he hits Ogun. With Ogun entering, Nathan is allowed to go and find Cindersplit, but decides not to. He does recast Yusri afterwards, and moves to combat. He goes at Kilby with the Assassin, Ifrit, and Mage, dealing 6. He then passes, and rolls for which of my lands explode, and I lose a Plains at the end of turn. Kilby gets to remove the final counters from his Inevitable Betrayal, casting it and targeting Nathan. He goes into Nathan's library, and has the Blightsteel Colossus come into play under his control. In the meantime, while he's going to find the creature, Kilby plays an exotic orchard, and once everything's done, plays out a sky scanner. With it entering, he draws a card, and then puts a spirit mantle into the Blightsteel. He also foretells a card, showing it to the camera, and passing turn. I shock out a godless shrine, and don't have much else. I then play out Ramos, and pass to Nathan. In his main phase, Nathan pays 3 mana to activate the Proteus Staff, and targets his Colossus that's now on Kilby's side. It gets shuffled into his library, and Kilby reveals off the top until he hits a Thunderclap Wyvern, putting it to the field. At this point, Nathan has also redrawn Gamble, which he casts, and this time discards Tybalt's Trickery. He then activates and taps the Mog Assassin, targeting Ramos. He rolls his 2 dice because of the thumb, and picks the high roll which he'd called for to win. My commander is then destroyed, and Oaken's power is doubled. He then goes to combat and rolls for Oaken's trigger. He gets the first flip, but still fills the second one even with the 2. Yusri and Oaken then go at me, and Nathan rolls the 5 like a good boy. He gets 3 of the flips, failing 2, and taking 4, and then doubling Oaken's power 3 more times. I'm super dead as they connect, and Nathan then passes. Kilby removes another counter from his Reality Acid on his upkeep, and draws. He taps 2 for the Foretell cost to cast a Stoic Farmer, and goes to find a Plains. It gets to come into play because Nathan has more lands. Unfortunately, Kilby can't swing though, keeping his flyers back for blocks, and passes. Nathan plays out a training center as his land for turn, and asks for the power and toughness of Kilby's stuff. He then activates the Mog Assassin to target the Wyvern, and in response to the activation, Kilby casts Generous Gift and targets the Thumb. Nathan isn't about to give up his Thumb though, and counters it with a Muddle the Mixture. He then rolls his 2 die, keeping the win, and doubles Oaken's power, and blows up the Wyvern. Moving to combat, he rolls for Oaken, winning 3 of his 4 flips, and doubling Oaken's power 3 times. He then goes at Kilby with Yusri, Oaken, and the Tribute Mage. Nathan starts flipping for Yusri, and gets 4 of them, losing 2, drawing 4, and doubling Oaken's power 4 more times. Kilby then moves to blocks, and does it like so. He does take 2 from the mage though. Nathan then taps enough in his second main phase to cast the Blightsteel Colossus, and passes. On Kilby's upkeep, he removes the last counter on Reality Acid, and the staff is destroyed. He then brings out a Sun Titan in his main phase, which as it enters, returns Pacifism, and he has the aura go into the Blightsteel. With nothing else, he passes turn. Nathan draws, and plays a Cascade Bluffs for his land drop. He taps 4 mana for Ral Zarek, and upticks the Walker to tap down the Sun Titan and untap one of his lands. He moves to combat, rolling for the Oaken trigger, but fails even with the extra roll. He goes at Kilby with the team though, and rolls for Yusri's ability. He once more gets all 5 of them because of the Thumb. But casting spells for free doesn't really matter now because Oaken is so beefy that he kills Kilby and wins him the game. Game review time. So who would have guessed that a Blightsteel Colossus on turn 2 was good? I mean, outside of anyone who's ever played Cube before. I'm not a mathematician, but the chances of winning all 5 flips in a row are not particularly high. Plus he had to gamble to find the Blightsteel Colossus, and that could have had him discarding it anyway, so there was a lot of chance, which is just kind of the fun of this deck. I will say that the main casualty of this unfortunate series of events was definitely Scott, since he only was able to cast 3 spells this game, one of which was his commander that cost 0. I think had I actually contributed anything with my Ramos deck and didn't have all of my creatures killed or bounced back to my hand, I could have probably helped Kilby fight back against Nathan. I think Kilby did a great job of almost keeping him completely at bay with the Condemn, Pacifism, and Reality Acid, and it's a shame that I wasn't able to contribute more to him. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, Cool Stuff Inc., Multizone, Original Magic Art, and Alter Sleeves. But it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.